Good evening, culture lovers. Oi, oi, and welcome to Bushell On The Box, the show that does for lousy TV what Arsenal did to Palace the other week. I'm Garry Bushell, and tonight I'm talking about the BBC, who have just copped another steaming bucket load of criticism over alleged bias. To paraphrase Lucy Fraser, the Beeb were about as impartial as a tipsy tiger mum at school sports day. Culture Secretary Fraser wants to make Ofcom, the broadcasting regulator, responsible for checking complaints about the BBC's online content instead of letting them essentially mark their own homework. Is she right? Well, yes and no. The corporation's news sense sucks like a Venus flytrap, and I could reel off a long list of evidence of one-sided PC thinking, from online pops at St Francis Drake and Churchill, to BBC News refusing to call the scumbags who raped women and butchered babies on October the 7th terrorists, and then repeating Hamas propaganda quickly shown to be lies as fact 10 days later. None of this should surprise us. After the Falklands conflict, the BBC axed Ian Curtis's The Falklands Play as a TV drama because, Curtis said, it was pro the British Army liberating the islanders. And the BBC had been sitting on the findings of the 2004 Bailyn report into its anti-Israel bias for 20 years. Politics aside, the Beeb, like all modern broadcasters, has been sucked into a swirling vortex of banality, toxic groupthink and virtue signalling. Just look how they ruined Question of Sport. But is Lucy sure Ofcom would be any better? Ofcom is largely staffed by ex-BBC and media professionals, and they're just as likely to share the corporation's muddled mindset as the BBC are. What Juicy Lucy needs is an independent ombudsman with a proven record of knowledge and sound judgment. I am available. If you ask me for my all-time favourite BBC dramas, I'd say House of Cards, Life on Mars, etc. But I'd have to qualify the more recent ones. You see, I loved the first Line of Duty, but became more far-fetched than the Elgin Marbles, and the Big H reveal was the biggest letdown since Rapunzel's hair. Happy Valley was terrific, but the blokes, the male characters, all underwritten. SAS Rogue Heroes bizarrely made Paddy Mayne gay, which he wasn't, and threw in a fictional female spy. Peaky Blinders started brilliantly, but that was sabotaged by bad research. They had Alfie Solomon talking about bayoneted Italians in World War I, when Italy was on our side. The Selby mob took on the Ulster Volunteer Force in the late 1920s, except the UVF didn't exist as a criminal gang until 1966. And writer Stephen Knight had Sir Oswald Mosley as an out-and-out Nazi at a time when he was actually a Labour MP, suggesting that Tommy wasn't the only one hooked on opium. I loved the Selbys, especially Arthur, but that was just sloppy. I did enjoy Luther, but raised an eyebrow when he came out of a crime scene wearing a coat that had been soaked in petrol and lit a fag. That was more of a fire risk than a walking tour of Iceland, or getting on a London bus. I used to be on the BBC quite a lot, but I got blacklisted for kickstarting a campaign to axe the licence fee in the late 90s, which you could say is fair enough. But I still believe their strongest defence is to make shows the majority want to see, which of course they still manage to do occasionally. Traitors is a great example. It gets people invested in the contestants, it makes us feel superior to them as well, and it teaches us that the way to get on in life and make a shed load of money is to stab people in the back. Something you suspect is truer of real-life chief executives than anything we see on Dragon's Den. It's certainly true of that long-running soap Westenders, also known as the Tory Party at War. You know what winds me up? The Met Office naming storms. A, because it's childish. B, because the names are so wishy-washy. Storm Jocelyn, leave it out. We've had Storm Gladys, Storm Dennis, Storm Malcolm. Come on, if you must do it, scary storms need scary names. You wouldn't want to brave the wrath of Storm Fury, Storm Odin or Storm Bastard, would you? Or how about Storm Chesney after Corrie's Chesney Brown? Just to give you an idea how wet and windy it would be. On the telly they advise people to sleep away from windows. Were we supposed to build overnight underground bunkers? TV storm coverage frightens the life out of you, and all that happens is your windows rattle a bit and you wake up to a free patio set, and if you're lucky, a trampoline. I also hate it when news channels send reporters to do outside broadcasts standing in storms. Why? Do they think we don't know what wind and rain look like? Although in fairness, I was in Florida once and the fella reporting from St Pete Beach got knocked right off his feet by an 8-foot wave. The poor sap was wetter than Oliver Dowden. At least there was a point to that. 250 quid from you been framed. They had floods out there too. One reporter got attacked by a shark. Not that unusual, except he was in McDonald's at the time. I am addicted to Reacher. What a character. In the books, Jack Reacher is 6'5". In the films, he was played by Tom Cruise, a bloke who's not tall enough to get on after rides at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. But in the new Amazon Prime series, he's played by Alan Ritchson, who's 6'3", a lot closer. And yes, okay, he's pumped up rather than real life tough, but Ritchson is imposing enough to pass as the real deal. Reacher, created by Lee Child, is a terrific character, a blues-loving ex-military cop turned lone wolf with a strong sense of right and wrong. For the poor and downtrodden, he's an avenging angel, a modern-day equaliser. For the twisted and evil, he's a force of nature you wouldn't want to cross. Such a force of nature, in fact, it's only a matter of time before they name a storm after him. Take on Jack Reacher and you end up in a cell or in the ground. He doesn't care which. It reminds me of 70s and 80s shows. Enjoyable, bloke-orientated action dramas. It isn't one of these uber-sophisticated shows with 7 layers of meaning you'd need a degree in advanced meta-cobblers to follow. Like, say, the 2nd season of Westworld. It's well plotted, well directed, and like a Chinese massage parlour, it delivers a happy ending. It's a joy. And Series 2 has been #1 on Amazon since it launched. Time for some awards. These are the police awards. Toughest Cops, Luther, Jack Regan, James Dempsey and Burnside, also most bent cop. Toughest ex-military cop, Reacher. Grumpiest cops, Taggart and Steve McGarrett. Hottest cops, Harriet Makepeace and Pepper Anderson. Shortest cops, Inspector Frost, played by 5'4" David Jason, and DCS Dennis Hoban in The Long Shadow, played by Toby Jones, who is 5'5". Both appeared in shows set in times when most police forces had a minimum height of 5'10". I'll tell you what else I can't stand. TV presenters who say, "Give it up for her," when they introduce someone. You're not bloody American. Just give it up, you morons. Other annoying Americanisms. Gotten. Z, pronounced Z. Deplaning for getting off an aeroplane. Can I get for could I have? And while we're on the subject, why call coffee regular when you mean medium-sized? TV lust lists are the hot new thing, so here are 5 of my all-time TV pin-ups, just to give my age away. Number 1, Elizabeth Montgomery on Bewitched. Emma Peel, The Avengers. Uhura on Star Trek. Jerry Ryan, Star Trek Next Generation. Heather Locklear on TJ Hooker. And as a teenager, I always wanted to be in Pan's People. I didn't care which one. My favourite of the new gladiators are Fury and Sabre. Joe, I'd love to get the 2 of them in my bedroom. I've got a right heavy wardrobe that needs moving. Oi oi, that's your lot. Keep watching the show on Ustreme to hear my views on the decline of Dragon's Den, the genius of Fargo, plus guests, goofs and much more.